like to start today's conversation with a personal story about myself that I experienced playing football in high school. Now, when I was on the football team, I played defensive end, so essentially my job was to tackle people. And one night, I was chasing down a ball carrier. He made the cut, I cut with him, and then all of a sudden, the lights are out. I find myself on my back. I'm not sure what happened, and went to the sideline. Coaches asked if I was okay. I responded that I was fine, and I continued to play the game. That following Monday, we were going over film and kind of discussing the game and why I did certain plays that I made, and the coaches are asking me, why did you do this or why did you do that? I had to be honest and respond. I simply didn't remember the game. I didn't remember playing. And, they saw the play where I got drilled and we kind of had a laugh about it. I had my bell rung. What I actually experienced was a minor concussion. And we call minor concussions traumatic brain injuries or TBIs. And TBIs are serious injuries that occur when the brain undergoes some kind of trauma. And this can be anything from, you know, the brain being penetrated by a foreign object. It can be whiplash from a car accident, concussive explosions that people in the military or people in bombings experience, or in my case, it's simply a direct blow to the head. And these are serious injuries that have very dire consequences. And what we're going to speak about today are the problems TBIs cause and some of the solutions to this problem that affects many Americans. And the amount of Americans may surprise you how many are affected. About 1.7 million people experience a traumatic brain injury every year. The most common victims of these are athletes, our military, where about 20% of active service members can expect to have a concussion or TBI of some sort by the end of their service, and people involved in automobile accidents and other recreational activities where they may experience whiplash. And multiple concussions or multiple traumatic brain injuries that are not treated properly or where people do not get the adequate care and time to recover, it can lead to loss of cognitive functions like memory and reasoning. It can lead to long-term degenerative effects like dementia and Alzheimer's, and it can rob you of your ability to control yourself emotionally, which I think is something that is not real common knowledge, but someone with multiple concussions can lose kind of the ability to behave in the way they used to. And what's really troubling about traumatic brain injuries is that when we have them, it's extremely difficult to get an adequate amount of care because of how expensive it is. Um, Rehab associated with traumatic brain injuries in hospital, you can expect to pay around $8,000 a day. If you are getting that same help outside of the hospital, you're going in for rehab or kind of checkups, that price drops, but it's still $600 to $2,000 a day. And without health insurance, only the wealthiest of Americans, or period, anywhere across the world, can expect to keep up with those prices. So, how do we kind of resolve this issue? One step that we know works with traumatic brain injuries is that the brain can repair itself and be retrained to regain cognitive functions that have been lost in a TBI. Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford, in a failed assassination attempt, had a bullet pass through the left side of her brain. Now, obviously, this is about as bad of a TBI as you can experience, and it was in very much doubt if she would live, much less regain cognitive function. But Congresswoman Gifford can now, walk and talk again. And that is only due to the amount of care that she received. And the reason she was able to afford that is because she was injured on the job, and she was a federal government employee, and they have great benefits. Unfortunately, not all healthcare plans are going to cover a traumatic brain injury, and most of them will not keep up with the premiums that I just discussed that Congresswoman Giffords did. And so, as a solution, we really need to start thinking about what we expect out of healthcare in this country. And when we're kind of in a time talking about reforms, making sure that, in some form, that we are advocating for healthcare that is affordable for all Americans, and that, your average person who suffers one of these accidents is able to get the care they deserve. And good associations to kind of follow are the Brain Injury Association of America, and when you are voting, kind of paying attention to where your congressman or woman stands on the type of health care that should be provided to you. And finally, another real quick solution is just keeping in mind, personally, that if you think you've suffered a head injury or someone you love has suffered a head injury, you need to schedule a checkup with a physician and just make sure that this injury is not severe or there's any bleeding or anything that kind of indicates a traumatic brain injury, and that if you do have one, you follow the steps your doctor recommends, you get rest, you take off work, and you treat this just as seriously as a broken arm or leg. It is not a laughing matter. It's not simply a matter of getting your bell rung. These are very serious injuries. So to kind of sum up what we've talked about today, traumatic brain injuries are something that you can certainly expect to experience in your life. Concussions are not uncommon. They affect millions of Americans each year, and especially if you're active or playing competitive sports or in the military, it's highly likely that you could experience one. If you want to have the care that is necessary to recover from these injuries, then as a voter, you need to make sure you are following or you are voting for politicians that this is a priority. You need to remember that our cognitive ability is what makes us as humans, special and unique. It's what is kind of our gift. And these injuries can rob people of that blessing. And if you care about the people around you and care about yourself, you'll make it a point to make sure that these kind of injuries are covered in the years to come. Thank you.